I'm always sad that SK are losing because I had the luck to play in this team and every single personality and as players, even if we failed in the end, I absolutely adore them because I really enjoyed being with them both in real life and in the game. I really want to see SK succeeding at some point.
Welcome back to the European LCS where SK and Gambit are setting up on stage. As we speak for our last matchup of the day, we just heard from Forgiven talking about SK, a team that's currently struggling.
True.
But let's take a look at their lineup and talk about how and why. Freddy still in the top lane, Sven in the jungle. Fox is the mid laner and Candy Panda and N-rated AD carry support with Lukashenko, their coach. We touched on some of their poor decision making and truthfully, despite the fact that SK are 3-9 in the league, take a look at some of the advantages that they have thrown away. This is nearly 8,000 gold up around 25 minutes, and SK lose this lead at a bad Baron play.
Yeah, this has really been the story for SK Gaming, is very poor late game shot calling, and it's so close. I mean, they play so well in the start, but like, look at this here. You can look at this Candy Panda and see when his heart is breaking, when this Ren doesn't get the Baron, smited away by El Bandito, and suddenly Giants get the comeback. Next game, Elements versus SK Gaming.
Not one throw.
Multiple throws,
yeah,
it's safe to say. I mean, 8k goal lead again for SK. We're 45 minutes in, and they take this team fight now, which they should never even have engaged into, but they have no chance of reaching the backline of Elements, and also they all group together for JWoww to get an insane Mega Gnar. And suddenly, well, team fight lost. Baron goes over to Elements, and it's not even over.
Yeah, and take a look at Freddy's positioning. He had super minions in the base. You're about to see in the picture-in-picture, super minions in the Nexus turret. If Freddy had just shoved that wave in and SK had delayed the backs, SK could have won that game. Freddy's decision-making has shown to be questionable multiple times. In this game, SK lose an 8k gold lead. In this replay, SK had a 12,000 gold lead. They had 5 dragons. They had a second Baron. And we're going to see individual and team positioning mistakes costing SK the match.
Yeah, you can see the rest of SK saying, okay, we have to now back away. And then Freddy suddenly is stuck in the back against 5 members of Rocket. And like, this problem in terms of shot calling is really such a massive thing for SK because they can do 90% correct in a game. And we're like, oh, it's great, they're getting this massive goal lead, they're playing super well, they get these standard lanes, it's working for them. And then this poor shot calling comes in, and it's really such a big problem. And it's a thing they didn't have, or a problem that never occurred in the last split because they were just so far ahead with the snowball so hard in the early game. This is not the case right now.
I think I want to reiterate that if SK didn't make these late game mistakes, they would have been 6-6 and tied for 4th. Unfortunately, these mistakes mean they're sitting down in 9th place and facing promo tournament. So we'll see if SK can start to solve those problems. Their opponents in this game will be Gambit, who are much higher up the table at 5-7. They are on the cusp of qualifying for playoffs. It is, of course, Cabochard, Diamond, Betsy, Forgiven, Gosu Pepper, and their coach, Shawns. Last week, the Fisher, we took a look at Diamond's minimal kill participation. Let's talk about then follow it up.
Yeah.
Still low kill participation, but a better performance last week.
Better performance. Diamond, though, has turned into a jungler that plays a lot around vision control. He's their jungler that plays the 2nd most wards per minute in the EU LCS, and that's how he creates pressure, or how he allows his lanes to play very aggressively. Look at his stats here. He got 1 kill in 2 games pre-50 minutes. That's nothing. He didn't get a single assist or anything. So when you look at Gambit, it's not about Diamond going in for the gank to get a kill for like Cabochard or for Forgiven. It's vision control, finding the enemy jungler, and then allowing your laners to do what they need to do. And that's where they shine. I mean, Cabochard can beat almost anyone one-on-one. Forgiven and Eddie have looked good in the 2v2 lane as well. And even Betsy is starting to step up. So Gambit will have strong lanes. Sometimes, though, if there's an early jungler who can gank a lot, Svensk on anyone, then the playstyle of Diamond can get punished.
Unfortunately, though, Sven has not shown up in every game he's played this summer, so a lot of pressure on Sven's shoulders. Just to remind everybody of playoff hopes here. SK are currently 3-9. It's Copenhagen Wolves that are 2-11. So with that in mind, tomorrow when SK and the Wolves do battle, that could determine who's looking at that automatic relegation spot. So if SK can pick up a win against a middle table team, they can already start to put some growth and some distance between them and the Wolves.
So let's look at first ban. Freddy is not an AP top laner. Very rarely do we see him play that. I don't even remember ever seeing him play Rumble. So Ryze being banned away on blue side from SK because of that. I wonder if Jace is going to be another ban. It's been such a good pick for Betsy if we look at the last week, and I think it's very important that Gambit is getting Betsy on a champion where he can carry. So it's not just about, you know, when Forgiven is playing Sivir, then it's more about shutdown Kappa shot. No, we need Betsy to be up there as well. So there's multiple threats on Gambit to shut down. For now, Azir ban is another one of Betsy's main picks.
And for Gambit, their most banned champion has been Kalista. 6 games it's been taken off the table. Forgiven showing he is not playing the Spear of Vengeance, and
also purple side.
Also purple side. Doesn't want to give it up first pick. Candy Panda, unfortunately, 0-4 on that champion. The next ban will be Shen. But it is interesting because regardless of sides, Forgiven is not playing the champion.
No,
when everybody else in the world
haven't seen him. He's been picking up more though of these like utility picks like this Sivir. That's something we have to give him credit for, and he talked about it last week after one of the wins, how it's no longer just about individual players like Forgiven being a big carry like it was on SK. No, it's a team effort. They go down together, and that's a great change for him. We see SK Gaming even respecting the Sivir pick, so they banned it away this time. Clearly have, see what first pick they would want now that we have no jungle bans so far. Alistar could be an option for SK.
Lulu ban from Gambit if they wanted to. It's been banned a couple times against SK in the past, and they also put high priority when it was available to help pick up some of those wins. The only wins that SK have secured.
So Gambit is trying to bait a Gragas first pick here from SK. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for SK to take that Gragas, but Diamond does like to play Nidalee, even though it's not always been too impressive.
I'm not a fan.
And you can play Nidalee fairly well into a Gragas. Early game, you can match him really well. You might even be able to beat him. Also, the Rune Glaive change is something that has kind of given Nidalee a few more options in how she can play, now that she has a bit more auto attack threat with the Sheen proc, or the Rune Glaive proc as it is. However, SK clearly thinking this one out. I mean, there's
a lot of smiles.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I'm noticing in contrast to the two teams, everybody on SK side has got massive grins.
Okay.
And gonna surprise, I think, both of us with a first pick Ezreal.
So
that's a flex as well.
It is a flex pick. For me, if you want to first pick Ezreal, you need to be ready to swap it to AD carry. In case the other team is now drafting a massive heavy engage composition to shut down his Ezreal, then you have to be able to swap him to the AD carry role and then run a more standard mid laner, which does not get as affected by hard engage as a poke champion like Ezreal here. Sadly for SK, they banned Azir themselves. He is one of the quick turnarounds you can do because Azir does really well into like heavy engage. So you didn't swap the Ezreal to AD carry and you pick the Azir and you're like, haha, fooled you. But that's not an option
you
for
make
SK.
It sound so easy to Fisher.
In this game, let's see Gambit. You see the potential AP Ezreal. You have to think engage, engage, engage. Or do we want to try and match the poke in terms of Corki Jace, which are the two options open for Gambit? You do need to be careful though about going late game, because we know what Rune Glaive Ezreal can do once he reaches that 3-4 item spike.
May not be Rune Glaive if Jace gets locked in.
Yeah, it's another one.
Fox has played Jace, had a decent performance with 8-5-4 despite it being a loss. But we'll touch on what they decide to lock in a moment or two. This will be another Corki game for Forgiven, his 5th of the split. 3 wins and a loss.
And we just talked about this in Italy. I thought it obviously was going to be for Diamond, and then with SK potentially first picking the Gragas, which is what Gambit were trying to bait before. We have seen Echo full tank, obviously from Svenskeren a few times. Been fairly effective, honestly, for him. And I wonder if this Nautilus, I mean, obviously, again, it's a flex pick, can go and raid it, but I could see it as a Freddy champion as well. Massive tank in the top lane. It is the style he likes to play.
We have seen Echo played by Svenskeren as well as Fox. So SK are keeping all of their cards kept close to their chest, because they have the option to put every single one of those champions in multiple roles. So how does Gambit decide? They now need to decide what team comp they want to run.
Yeah.
And just hope for the best in terms of what SK is going to eventually swap out.
If I'm Gambit, I feel like I can somewhat predict at least where the Echo is going to go. I'm not, and again, Freddy is not an AP top laner. And we haven't seen Echo mid lane very often because of the fact that, yeah, okay, sure, they played it once, but now we have to remember he's been nerfed a little bit. And He's just been a very effective jungle pick because you can just go full tank. So I would say if I'm Gambit, like that's going to be an Echo jungle. I'm going to say it's going to be a Nautilus support as well. And Freddy maybe wants a bit more of a split pushing pick for himself in the top lane. That's if I'm Gambit and I'm trying to predict where these picks are going to go. And you see for them, they're saying, we want to make sure we have some backline threat against your potential poke composition. And that's why they're locking in a Yasuo. This is a blind pick though. And I'm not really the biggest fan of it right here. I want to see more of what SK is doing, and then I would have it as a last pick for them. I wonder if it's going to go top lane potentially, though, for Cabochard.
Maybe Gambit's been scrimming Giants?
It was banned once against them as well, but we were like, huh,
why Yasuo?
Surprising ban. But now they get to lock it in, so let's see if it is a flex pick for Gambit or not.
And we have seen Yasuo into Nars. If that is a counter in Europe, as it is in other regions, it also reduces one more champion from Freddy's pool, his second most played, we should point out. To see what they decide to lock in. It looks like it's going to be Nautilus top if this Victor and Lulu get locked in, because we expect that Lulu to be in N-Rated hands.
So if I was Gambit, I would have predicted wrong with the Nautilus at least. But it does mean we see SK Gaming say we first pick Israel, but we realize now with Yasuo coming in, there's backline threat from Gambit, so we're going to change it up. We're going to move him to that AD carry position. We take the blind pick Victor. Again, he's a safe laner. He can perform really well in most compositions off of that guaranteed wave clear as well, which is what you need when you have like an Ezreal AD carry. So SK Gaming just changing around a little bit in terms of, or looking at what Gambit is building. And I want to see if Cabochard wants this Yasuo top then into a Nautilus. It's not a matchup I've seen a lot of. I've never seen.
I was going to say, I've not seen it at all. I'm not worried to say that in the slightest. In the game of pick and ban roulette.
It's all mind games right now.
In the game of pick and ban roulette, who has come out the victor? We've got 4 seconds before we see this final pick. It will be a Yasuo top with multiple knockups, multiple knockaways, multiple options. Cabochard to find a target.
If Gambit can manage to get Cabochard rolling, then I really like the composition they've been building here in terms of getting to the Victor, getting to the Ezreal. What SK Gaming is going to do is they're going to build a full tank Gecko and a full tank Nautilus, who's going to be a pain. I mean, Forgiven won't be able to take them down, but that means it's not going to be about him anymore. It's going to be about what Cabochard can do towards the backline of SK Gaming instead. And if Yasuo can beat the Nautilus in the one-on-one, you're going to have a split-pushing threat coming in for Gambit. You have decent or great wave play in Corki and Orianna, so it's a very safe comp in many ways for them. And you have enough knockups, I mean Shockwave, and you have Alistar, you have Gragas, to set up Cabochard in these fights here. SK Gaming obviously with Lulu, which is one of the traditional counters to a Yasuo, being like, hey, I can wild growth whatever target you're jumping. But it's going to be support Lulu, so late game, the shields and the HP from the ulti is not going to be that huge compared to what a late game Yasuo can do of damage.
We do know though, in rated 3-0, the 3 wins that SK have picked up have been on that single champion. They held their cards until the very last pick. Maybe surprising Gambit. Gambit have put together a pretty good team composition with, again, multiple options. Good wave clear. Decent engage options.
I really fear SK will lack damage. If the Victor pick gets shut down, even in the fight or just in the early game, Ezreal is not going to be the guy who's destroying what Gambit has built up here. Obviously, maybe some people on Twitter disagree with me on everything.
We'll find out. You can see the SK flag is lit as they trudge into battle against Gambit. Last chance saloon, possibly, for SK, as they are very, very close to that automatic relegation position. Yeah. Fisher, you've highlighted some options here for Gambit. If Gambit focus Cabochard or Betsy's lane, those are keys to victory. We're expecting Forgiven and Ghosted to play it safe.
I would definitely play around
some of the poke and harassment.
Yeah. I mean, don't bother trying to gank an Ezreal Lulu lane. That's going to be such an annoying lane for you to try and gank. Also, Corki, Alistar. It's going to be a very passive lane in that sense. Obviously, Lulu is going to bully out the Alistar in the early game. Play around Cabochard and this Yasuo. Make sure he can play offensive or aggressive with wards and with Diamond staying around. Just shadow his lane. Gambit is looking for an early invade. SK Gaming is not doing what H2K did before and group up and try and trap them. They're just splitting up, trying to cover every single entrance.
Nobody's responding yet from Gambit to try get some deep wards down to at least even what what Gambit have done. So early advantage to Gambit. We do finally see Candy Panda and Enrated moving further and further into lane.
He's trading. And Freddy's starting with a sweeping lens to see if he can clear out one of these level 1 wards and potentially set up a swap. Now he is spotted, obviously, killing this one. Now the only question for Gambit is he going to recall? Is he going to stay? For now, they should assume he's gone top lane. That's where they got the latest information, and they never saw the bot lane of SK move around. So that's what they got to work with for now. And they will just swap Forgiven and Ghost and Pepper away from this Lulu Ezreal lane. We talked about how annoying Lulu is going to be in the early game of it. They swap it around and also see if they can deny Freddy a little bit on this Nautilus.
Krug started by Enrated and Candy Panda. Focus down the little one. I'll talk so much about this champion. You can see the stats on your screen as Forgiven and Gosu, they will secure their Krugs and move their way into lane. So Freddy's got a little bit of an early push. Enrated and Candy currently no opposition. Cabochard's currently was holding Diamond Prox's hands until he's just recalled. So
Freddy will always try and get an early push in his lanes, even if it's a 1v2 situation. He wants a bit of farm, and then because we had to change quite a while ago with the XP range of minions, he always stays and he tries to soak up XP for himself. Sven and Diamond are going to find each other. Sven decided to start on the weak side. Did Grump, then did Blue Buff. Gambit did not invade, despite having the lane top. They took their own camp, so wanted to secure a buff and potentially be ready if SK had swapped the dual lane top as well. So for now, Sven will get 3 buffs, seeing as they should be able to secure the blue buff of Gambit as well, because he was starting on that weak side and no invade from Gambit.
So we do see Cabochard, he's moved up to that top lane. The wave has been pushed all the way to Freddy's tower. Freddy holding on to his teleport in base, and Candy Panda's trying to push out bottom.
So I just want to talk a little bit about what we see here. There's been a slight change in how a lot of teams play the lane swaps. Now it's the top laner who's sitting with the dual lane to kill the tower, while the jungler is still moving around the map and farming for himself. So he's going to be stronger due to this. You even see Diamond is recalling now because there's no real camps for him to take. And then what you do is once you kill the tower, you just leave the lane for your top laner, and you also give him, in this case because you have a Yasuo, you give him full gold from the tower. That's what I would like to see from Gambit. So Forgiven and Ghost Paper will then move away and let Cabochard finish off the tower, get the full gold for himself. You can see it right here. And then Ghost Paper walks back in. So they might just want to share it. I like it when you just give it to the top laner. Gives him a small advantage. And he is on a Yasuo who needs to snowball.
So first tower secured in favor of Gambit. This is in fact their 8th first tower in 13 games. And with SK having the numbers advantage down bottom for the time being, we'll see if they want to go for a dragon. SK have definitely been incredibly impressive with their dragons. Coming into the week, they had 36, the second most in the entire league. But they're second last on the ladder. So having those dragons hasn't necessarily helped convert to wins, as we highlighted in our pregame.
Yeah, always gotta get number 5 to get the real impact for SK. Also because they don't run these poke competitions very often, which can benefit from some of the buffs on the way to number 5 for dragons. Meanwhile though, because SK Gaming had a different strategy in the lane swap, it was just Lulu Ezreal taking down bot tower alone. It has meant that Freddy hasn't really picked up any farm. He got the first few minions and then he's kind of been denied. He's not been down pushing in the bottom lane. He's not really been double junking too much with Svenska either. So he is going to be behind now because Cabochard got the wave up top once the tower went down. And now there's going to be a big wave pushing down. That's an opening for Sven though to go and gank him. Now that he's pushed so far up and you have a Nautilus to set it up.
We'll see whether or not Sven's early damage will be enough. There's sure as heck enough CC from Freddy. Down a lot of CS, but a lot of minions to farm. And we did see Sven getting gifted from camp. Phase dive over. We are going to see the wind wall come out. That means the dredge line is blocked, and Cabochard continues to put the damage down onto Sven. Parallel convergence will not find a stun. That big body barrel slam will. Cabochard dashes once, dashes twice, finds first blood, and gets himself a blue buff for a moment. Gets a rock up onto Freddy. He's staying alive. Freddy should go down. 1 or 2 more hits. Freddy's going to dredge line to safety. And Gambit turned that around.
So SK Gaming was setting up the gank, but the wind wall, first of all, blocked the hook from Freddy, and then Diamond, he knew his top laner was gonna get ganked, so he moved all the way over there. Fantastic outplay for Gambit. Very important first blood, because this also keeps Freddy down. He lost a lot of minions during that fight. And because his team didn't really help him in the lane swap, he didn't want help because he wanted to stay up in that top lane, and Gambit played around Cabochard a little bit more. Big difference early on.
And for Diamond Prox, it's before 15 minutes, involved in first blood. We've talked so much about Diamond's slower pace in the early game. He started off well today in that lane swap. Cabochard picked up that Zeal, is returning to lane. Even farm between the two Triforce 80 carries in the bottom lane. And Forgiven and Gosu playing really quite passively. Well, as you expect, I think.
Right. I mean, this is not going to be, once again, it's not going to be about the Gambit bottom lane. It's going to be about what can Cabochard do on this Yasuo pick.
Sounds like you've heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a strategy for Gambit very often. Now, obviously, you have late game scaling on Betsy. That can be key for the team fights. But I will also say I prefer the Corki Power Spike over the Ezreal when it comes to Trinity Forces for the mid game, and I just fear that SK will lack damage. Who's gonna kill Diamond Prox full tank when he dives in onto Candy Panda? You have an Alistar in the way as well. It's gonna be so difficult for SK with this double carry setup and to take down targets.
We highlighted how many knockups there are for Cabochard's last breath, but we didn't necessarily talk about how many ball delivery systems there are. Alistar, Yasuo, Gragas, all of them could set up a great shockwave. Take a look top lane really quickly. Cabochard and Diamond are looking for another kill onto Freddy. Observers don't mind too much, but Freddy was forced to get away.
Svensson is playing around the wrong lane. You don't have to go bottom lane here. It's in full control of SK. You need to help your top laner. He's getting pressured by two members every time he tries to farm. Diamond is nearby. SK Gaming have surrendered the top side of the map. That is the lane Gambit wanted to win, and SK Gaming right now are allowing them to, and stealing away the 1 HP blue buff.
Fox got it. That's what matters. Death Ray managing to secure SK's blue as Diamond was trying to steal it. So remember, Freddy has no flash and the wave's pushing in. Diamond's nearby, as is Svensson. Cabochard does have access to his ultimate, so let's see what Freddy can do. Because as it stands, Gambit are just applying so much pressure on the top half of the map, and no real reply yet from SK.
No. Again, Sven has been trying to set something up on the bottom lane. Absolutely no reason. And very low chance of pulling that one off. But also at the same time, if you are Svensson at this point, you might have to consider the fact you can't win the 2v2 trade up in that top lane if you go for it. So you can't really gank the lane. You just have to like sit around and be more security for Freddy. Because Cabochard is just pushing it down over and over, and you know Diamond Prox is staying around.
Something we do want to talk about as we're about to hit 10 minutes to Fisher is the fact that Gambit are a team that rarely put themselves into lane swaps. Of their 12 games leading up to this, only 3 had actually been lane swaps, and their averages across those games was to be down around 1,000 gold, right? Regardless of who initiated it. This seems to be the opposite.
Very clear that Gambit have been practicing these lane swap, because again, this is the new addition we have seen in other regions as well, where we have the top lane and jungler starting together. They do 2 camps, so they both get level 2. The jungler doesn't have to invest that much or that many potions as well. And then you just send the top lane in to push with the dual lane, and your jungler stays, and he can just keep farming, because you don't need him. You don't need 4 members to rush down the tower. And it just meant that Cabochard had a great lane to pick up after. He's been using it also with the fact that Diamond Prox could counter gank that lane that was being pushed in.
So as we've said, 10 minutes is clocked over. About 1,500 gold in the lead for Gambit. They have a CS advantage in every single lane.
Even support.
Albeit small ones. I'm going to let the Relic shield.
I mean, it's great last hitting. Look at this last hit he's gonna.
Well, there's no stack for Gosu.
Ah, 80. Whatever.
Fish, I thought you used to play this role. Pay attention, man.
I'm playing 80 carry now. Great 80 carry player.
Is that working out for you?
No, my champion pool is horrible. I can
you just play Sivir?
I can play Sivir, then I try to play Lucian, but I'm lose all the time because Lucian is not very good right now.
So ban Sivir against Officio if you see him in solo queue. Right. Gambit now slowing the pace of the game. We can see Cabochard has held that lane up top for a little while. And Sven, we mentioned in Picks and Bans how if Sven was able to disrupt Gambit's chances, maybe he could work out. Gonna look for an engage. Parallel convergence. This might be a stun, and it catches Betsy out. The Chaos Storm will burn Betsy down. And the Shockwave didn't finish the animation. Great combo.
Yeah, great combo here from Svenskeren, landing the stun and then of course just burning down Orianna. Look at the bottom side of the map here. SK Gaming have taken control of the river with pink ward, so Sven knew he could move in around this mid lane here and set up a gank. Even Enraid had already moved before it started in case a bigger fight would break out. So nice little setup from SK. Ignore that bottom lane, gank the other lanes.
If anybody's not watching mid lane when Svenskeren plays Echo, it's a big mistake. Because Svenskeren has played Echo 3 times now, and all 3 times has picked up kills in the middle lane. Twice from Wraith Camp, now from the river. Definitely seems to be putting some
Here's the thing though.
Tools with that WE combo.
Betsy could have flashed W, I believe. And he didn't. He saved until after when he'd already been poked down so low. That was a mistake for him. Diamond, though, he's gonna go in for the gang and oh!
3-man
setup!
The last breath! I demand a replay of that! Because Gambit, that was incredible! That's exactly what Giants did not do.
Man, that was insane. I love that play so much. Cabochard Diamond roaming down. Revenge for killing Betsy.
Yes!
Alright, okay. Diamond, flash burst time, and goes to Pepper. 3-man ulti from Cabochard as well. I mean, you rarely get this great of a setup. And you even block the ulti from Candy Panda.
I've not seen anything else that is deserved of an LCS big play other than that. Gambit, they did manage to take the tower, and now they need to defend. At 13 minutes, they've got themselves 4,000 gold in the lead. Cabochard has teleport available and is pushing the inner turret in the top lane once more. Great play from Gambit, and we talked about this, we talked about lane swaps, the lanes reset, and a well-timed roam with the minion wave allowed that dive to happen.
And these kind of plays are so much easier for Gambit to set up in this game because they've been winning this top lane, and Cabochard has just been pushing it down over and over, and suddenly the route he has to take from the tier 2 tower and top down into the mid lane is so short for him. It's been warded up most of the time. He just walked in there with Diamond. So you set up these tower dives where SK, I mean, it's such an impossible situation because you might expect the dive to come, but if you leave your tower, you just might end up giving up that tower to Gambit for nothing. But you can't really stay either because you know there's this risk of a potential dive coming. And that's how teams are able to simply shrink down your own minimap and then give you such a small map to play on, where if you move too far out to even just your own tier 1 tower, you might just be at risk of dying because you've been losing one of the side lanes, and it opens up for these roams and these dives, and which teams are getting better and better at executing.
Exceptionally so from Gambit. They continue to demonstrate growth in the summer split. With most games we watch from Gambit, it is a slow and steady climb to looking like a better team. Last week, their systematic shutdown of Copenhagen Wolves in the lane swap, also to get Cabochard ahead on his Fizz, was well executed, regardless of the fact that it was against a struggling team. SK have not had the same struggles that Copenhagen Wolves have had, yet they are still down at the bottom of the table, and Gambit, again, off to a great start. We did catch a quick glimpse of Forgiven killing the Crab. He's got that Trinity Force already versus a Sheen and a Phage. So item advantage if Gambit can find another team fight. And there's a lot of grouping taking place. Forgiven's miles away.
It's also just about Cabochard getting one-on-one lane. He's going in on Freddy.
Last breath is up. Freddy's going to throw down the mine. He's not going to get knocked up by Depth Charge. Look at the rest of the team though. Everybody's converging. Forgiven is not. Yes, Svenskeren's got knocked up, and Gosu Pepper is going to get stunned by the parallel convergence. SK's in the retreat. Svenskeren gets caught out. Going to Chrono Break back, but it will not be enough. 2-0 to Cabochard.
I really want to highlight how Gambit is very clearly pre-planning these all-ins for Cabochard. As soon as he jumped on Freddy, 3 members from Gambit went from the mid lane and started moving down bottom lane. Diamond was there first, then 2 other guys followed after, and SK Gaming are fighting in a disadvantage. They don't have Trinity Force complete on Candy Panda. He's out of mana as well. There's just no damage for them. So Gambit are happy taking these fights. They're happy saying, okay, we're gonna all in. If you chase them down, we're gonna follow you. And that's in our favor every single time at this point. If you use your AD carry to zone out a Victor, main damage source for SK, do that every time.
Gambit will be securing the third tower of the game. There's no one from SK to defend. And just very, very good play coming out of Gambit. I once again just want to give Diamond some praise and Gambit as a team, because not only are they looking coordinated, in a lane swap, which they have limited experience, Diamond was 1-0-2. He had 100% kill participation in 15 minutes. It's not something we've seen. Fox has picked the fight with Cabo, or vice versa, and Fox is going to get dumpstered.
Cover shot is so strong. Everything from the early game has been to set him up. He's been using it. Diamond is sitting, ready to help Cover shot as well. Almost all the time. Now he doesn't need him anymore. Now he's a grown man, make his own decisions.
Implying he wasn't before?
Well, I mean, Diamond was there to help him at least. Babysitter Diamond.
That sounds like a Photoshop I'd like to see. Babysitter Diamond wearing a Gragas skin. Gosu Pepper's going to be babysat by Diamond. Think Ward's getting cleared out. Candy's actually aggressively arcane shift forward, and Freddy's found a dredge line. Gosu's already thrown down that unbreakable will and will continue to get away. Lethalon slows down, and Pulverize does not connect. And Freddy will stay alive. SK remain grouped and begin sieging these outer turrets.
Yeah, only have Candy Panda here to really hit the tower. Victor joining in now. It's 5 members from SK. They just used quite a lot on that. That's fine. No, he got it again!
Man lost breath! A double kill for Cabo Shot, and he wants more! He's gonna keep sweeping that blade across! He's gonna find himself another with the help of Gambit! Killing spree shut down by Fox, but it does not matter! An ace for 1!
And this time he even set it up himself. He lands the knockup. Cabo Shot jumps in. Gambit are pulling off some insane combos in this game. And SK Gaming just have zero answers. They've been behind since the lane swap. Nobody's gonna stop the Yasuo at all. Not even close. And SK Gaming were the team who was like baiting around all these flex pick in the pick of Memphis. Let's see it again. Knock up well. Where's Candy Panda? Let's knock him up 3 guys. Yeah. Everyone else from Gambit's like, yeah, I'm helping, I'm here too. But it's just all about what Cabo Shot is doing.
10,000 damage has already been dealt to champions by Cabo Shot. It's more than double the next highest, who is currently Forgiven. 10 kills to 2. We're getting close to 20 minutes. We're getting close to 10,000 gold lead. How much money is Cabo Shot? God, he's 8,000 gold, 3K ahead of Freddy.
And you know what? He's only getting stronger. He doesn't even have Infinity yet. I mean, this is not exactly going to be a lot better for SK in that sense. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse.
And this is just all praise to Gambit. Gambit played the lane swap, they started it. They ganked for Cabo Shards, roamed to the mid lane. There's not a lot that SK could have done the way the game played out, because Gambit just took control from very early on.
I would have liked to see SK in the lane swap play the same, like mirror what Gambit was doing, where Freddy then would have gone to the bottom lane. He would have gotten the lane from SK and he would get to sit and get equal farm to what the Yasuo was doing, because we mentioned this in Champs, like how much of this game was about can Cabo Shot get rolling. We talked about it multiple times. That was a way for SK to at least go even in terms of top lanes and then swap them back later and keep denying this Yasuo pick with Lulu and Ezreal. And they didn't do that. They put Freddy on his own and said, you know what, you just go deal with him. We don't want to touch him. And
to expand on, you know, Cabo Shot getting resources and Forgiven getting resources, when you actually look at the percentage gold share that they get for their role, both Cabo Shot and Forgiven are #1 in the European LCS, which actually leaves Diamond 10th out of 11 for gold share, and Betsy 10th out of 10. Well, so all of the gold and resources have been put into those two.
All Diamond is farming is just enemy wards most of the time. Cabo Shot is getting all the kills as well, so it is the way Gambit is built up. We have seen Betsy step up more and more and start playing some of the carries, but he's never been consistent enough, in my opinion, to be relied on as 100% mid lane carry. So we have seen him been playing more utility mages from time to time. This one as well, I mean, obviously utility wave clear in the start, then late game, yes, he's going to be a big carry, but Gambit won't even need him in the late game at the moment.
It's a different style of team, but it's working for Gambit most of the time. They're 5 and 7. They're looking to put some more distance between teams below them. If Gambit pick up a win today, which is looking very, very likely, they will then tie the record of Giants, meaning that battle for 4th place is getting even more contested as we're nearing week 7, week 8, week 9 in the LCS.
Gambit is just becoming more and more meta as a team. The addition of Sean's as a coach has clearly worked really well for them. In the start of the split, I remember I was looking at some of the pick and ban phases being like, you're giving like every single OP pick right now to the enemy team. And it just went super wrong for Gambit in like 20 minutes and the game was over. But now they've really changed a lot of it. And sure, Kalista is not there. That's been about it for them. We see more and more
maybe Forgiven
strategies
ahead of the curve. Maybe Forgiven knows it'll be nerfed and won't be able to be used by time playoffs rolls around.
That's when he laughs at all the people.
Cabo wants more. Cabo should get more. Dredgeline away. Cabo's going to keep something. A new challenger appears and Fox shuts him down. Cabo Shot's got a small grin as he realizes he bit off more than he can chew.
But you can see Gambit already making a cross-map play because you know there's going to be at least 2 guys to try and kill Cabo Shot. Top lane tower goes down, and then even though SK got a kill, they lose more. Gambit, another small advantage. That's how you always want to play split, which notice how we had 3 lanes at once pushed down. So once the gank happened, something went down elsewhere. Now it's going to have to be Baron soon because Gambit is running out of outer turrets to kill.
And this is a very important game for SK as well. Not only is playoff hopes less and less likely with a loss, but for SK, they're down 0-1 to the Copenhagen Wolves, who are below them. And SK play the Wolves tomorrow. That could determine head-to-heads. We'll expand on this
They're going to have to stop this Baron then, Trevor, if they want to have a chance of winning this game.
I don't think they're going to be able to. They're not! Baron has been secured. Cabo Shot's found Sven Skeren. The Chrono Break will buy some time, but Forgiven, as well as Cabo Shot, will double team Sven. Baron secured, Dragon secured, 5 towers. Last time I said those lines, it was for SK, and SK ended up losing that game. I don't fear the same fate for Gambit today.
They've been playing near perfect in this game. Very, very few things. Gambit didn't make the optimal play. And now, well, let's kill someone.
So, Fox gets knocked back into the team. Diamond Prox as well as Gosu Pepper tanking for days. Freddy's on the front line though, and Gambit forced to retreat. He didn't get the damage they wanted on Candy and Fox. Those empowered recalls mean they can rinse and repeat to try again another day.
Yeah, wanted to pull off the combo. I think the tower was a little bit in the way. Gosu Pepper had to like walk around it after his combo and didn't manage to get a whole lot from the shockwave. Didn't get to see it too closely though. Instead, Gambit can reset it. One mistake, nobody died. You can get a dragon for yourself and you can go back to just split pushing with this Yasuo. Vintage is completed. Cabo Shot says thank you very much.
Got that after his sped up recall.
Ah yeah,
in the 2-1 down bottom. Saves the 8 seconds for recalling. Diamond Prox and Gosu on the front lines in the middle. And as you mentioned, Officio, Baron empowered minions down bottom. Freddy is praying for support.
Remember,
Frozen Heart, we'll give him some time.
Yeah, but remember this flat armor penetration coming, or the armor penetration for Cabo Shot as well. Against these tanks can be very effective. He's going on Freddy.
So Freddy's got caught out, Wild Growth used already, so they've traded Last Breath and Explosive Cast. Steel Tempest knockup follows, and Forgiven's pushing middle, while the rest of Gambit are pushing bottom. Gambit will continue to farm out the jungle and push up to this middle lane. Forgiven's got a couple hits onto the tower, and while this strategy is working right now, I need to be a little careful not to leave Forgiven alone. I remember when he played for Copenhagen Wolves last year, it was one of the problems that the team had, because Forgiven was always in a side lane. never with the team when they needed it.
Not the case on Gambit though, because Cabochard has taken over these side lanes. It's not for Forgiven, ever really. He's gonna sit with Betsy, with the team. Last outer turret is down. Mid lane is very open if Gambit want to go in and land a few hits. Obviously where the Sheen always works wonders and should have before this armor penetration from Cabochard. Not able to completely shut down Freddy just yet, but Freddy doesn't have anything to do in the lane, just standing there taking damage.
Look at the cooldowns. Last breath is up for Cabochard. Explosive cast will be shortly for Diamond Procs. The tower has dropped at 26 minutes. What an early inhib turret, and the inhibitor is secured. Gambit gonna back away. Baron's worn off, but it was used exceptionally successfully. Golf claps all around for that one.
Well, so Gambit now will follow Unicorns of Love. Both teams have been winning today. Giants lost, so they're moving up. Should be tied for 4th place. All the teams obviously aiming to get into playoffs. We have to remind people, if you didn't watch in the spring split, we have number 1 and number 2 straight into the semifinal, 5 weeks. Number 1 will then face the winner of number 4 versus number 5. So, if Gambit and Unicorns and Giants are fighting around that, they will look to face Fnatic then, if they manage to qualify from the quarters here. And then, obviously, on the other side, number 2, which in this case right now would be Origin. If they win today, they will face the winner of number 3 and number 6 in the semifinal.
A lot of...
Why are you laughing in the river? That's weird.
Why not? What a...
Ah, it's a Rift Scotland. Yeah.
Okay, taunting the crowd.
Yeah. Thing. Maybe he's taking a wee, I'm not sure.
Where does that come from?
Hey, he's just standing around.
So, Deficio, to expand on your discussion, teams that place 4th and 5th have to face off against the number 1 team from the regular season. And if Fnatic win tomorrow, they already win the regular season. If they can beat Origin, because their worst case finish will be 14 and 4.
Yeah, 2-0.
And that means the head-to-head rules in the tiebreaker will put them above both HTK and Origin. It will be an unprecedented scenario. Last-ditch effort. Svenskeren has phase dived over the wall. He's going to chrono break backwards, but now he's split from the team. Candy Pan has arcane shifted forward. Cabochard is pushing the top. Gambit will keep playing interference, and Freddy, he's gone way deep. Once again, Freddy with a questionable decision, connecting the dredge line. And Cabochard's got the flanking opportunity.
The thing is, SK just have no damage. They're falling behind, already had a composition with very low damage overall outside of the Victor pick. And then once you start falling behind, it looks even worse. I mean, yeah, Cabochard wasn't even there. Now, Gambit are looking to close out the game.
SK are split up. They've already lost their big tank top laner. Gambit are looking at the Nexus. They will undoubtedly pick up their 6th victory in the summer split and are looking to be a real threat as we get closer to the end of the regular season. Cabochard wants more, and he gets more. Fantastic game.
Yeah.
29 minutes, start to finish.
100% under control from Gambit here. Had a few, the Yasuo flex pick coming in. SK didn't really know where it was going to go before the last pick, but also SK Gaming likes to run these comps here with double tank and double carries. I don't feel like Ezreal can fit into that comp really well, because again, he's too low of a damage dealer for most of the game, and it becomes very, very easy for other teams to then target the one guy, which is now in this case a Victor. And at the same time, Freddy, it's hard for him to have the impact he wants to if he's not on a split pushing champ. That's why I expected him to swap the Nautilus to support and then try and get some sort of split pusher for Freddy. That's where he normally really shines. I just feel like they got outdrafted by Gambit and outplayed.
What a statement. Gambit outdrafted their opponents. It's been a couple of weeks in the making, but again, earlier today we talked about teams and strength of schedule and who has the opportunity to surprise getting closer to playoffs. And Gambit are one of those teams that, unlike Giants and UOL, you feel are growing at a more standardized rate. I don't think they have the same highs that we've seen from Giants, you know, pushing Fnatic to the limits, which Gambit also did, but not as impressively. But I do feel like they are going to be one of the strongest contenders for that upper to middle bracket.
Among the 7 teams fighting to challenge H2K, Origin, and Fnatic, of course, even though right now nobody really wants to deal with Fnatic. But overall, great game from Gambit. Fantastic way to close it out. SK Gaming now tomorrow have a very important game.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to note, not only are teams fighting for the shot in the playoffs, but as you highlighted, you're also aiming to place either 3rd, or this is going to sound very weird, or 6th. Because theoretically, Fnatic are looking likely to place 1st. And if you place 4th or 5th, that's the quarterfinal that feeds into the 1st place battle. What a difficult challenge. Alternatively,
if you have to win, you might as well beat them
just
early,
beat
right?
Fnatic in the semifinals, and then you just win it, right?
Yeah, obviously playing for the points to get at least into the regionals, so you have a chance of making it to Worlds.
That's what everybody's playing for. We're going to head over to Pulse on stage for taking a look at that Wombo-fueled win.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm here joined by Cabashot after his victory against... after his win. Now, you picked the Yasuo very early into your draft. Now, it was completely blind into the top lane. Did you have a game plan going into that one?
So actually, I don't want to reveal too much, but it wasn't planned for me in the first place. But after what they picked, we figured that it could maybe work better here. So we decided to go with Yasuo top lane.
Okay, so I completely brain-farted. You went up against SK, you took it to them. I want to ask you about your expectations going into playoffs, because you did very well against one of these lower-tier teams, but do you think you can do the same against the likes of an Origin or Fnatic as you approach those playoff scenarios?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we had a lot of issues in the start of the split, but as the split goes on, we are getting stronger and stronger, and I think we'll perform really well in playoffs.
Well, I know you don't want to give away too much, but you played into the Nautilus, you did do that lane swap. In that scenario, do you think Yasuo is stronger in that matchup? Do you think there's a lot of matchups that Yasuo can straight up win?
Actually, not so many in top lane, but I think Nautilus is overrated in top lane, and a lot of people just tend to pick him as a new Maokai. But you can see his flaws and just abuse him easier than a Maokai like before. So this matchup, it was fine, and our team fight with Orianna, Gragas, Yasuo, Alistar was really sweet, so it worked really well.
Yeah, it definitely did in that game, Cabashot. Once again, congratulations on your victory. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst desk to break down the game and to close out the day.
Thank you so much, Pulsa. Cabashard saying it was a pretty sweet combo. Destructive is more what I would call it from that very first fight on that they absolutely dominated in the mid lane. It was just all off from there. Crepo.
Yeah, well, he watched the match, you know.
I streamed enough. I mean, beautiful wombo combos. I love to play.
Yeah, obviously it's really fun to see that. You know, once these combos connect, and obviously for Gambit, it almost felt too much. Everybody wanted to set up the combo. You have the Alistar, you have the Orianna, the dive in the mid lane. It was double proc, you know, the Gragas body slam flash, triple pulverized combo, and then all you have to do when you ask was just wait, press R at the end of the knock-up, and get that extension on the knock-up. And yeah, beautiful when it comes together. But I feel if you get into a position where you allow Yasuo to 3-man ulti you, you already made like. You deserve to lose the game. You should never get flanked like that. You should never get exposed like that, because it is an obvious telegraphed composition, you know? It wants to knock you up, extend that knock up, and then take you down. Don't group up.
Oh yeah, that is for certain. I mean, as you said, if you get into that spot, it's all up. I don't think I've ever heard you and Trevor quite that excited just for a mid lane
first wombo combo. Trevor, he couldn't stop going on.
I mean, it's a great play.
It was.
I just like watching a team that is clearly growing every single week, and they find new strategies to use. I mean, this was a new lane swap for Gambit, at least. It's something we've seen in NA, we've seen it in China and Korea a few times, how you play when you keep the top laner obviously alone, and he double jungles in the start, and then you move him up to the lane. And I like that from Gambit, because SK Gaming were clearly a step behind already from that moment in level 1 in the lane swap, and that was a big problem for them.
It was a big problem. You talk about Gambit and kind of doing different things, trying new things. The Yasuo top is something I saw earlier this week in Challenger, specifically in the NA matchup that we've seen over in LCK. Now they're bringing it in. I wasn't exactly convinced on the actual matchup, but Mitch, you and I were talking during the game about kind of a little bit more specifics between Yasuo and Nautilus, and it actually seems to make more sense than you'd maybe think at first.
I mean, just analyze the matchup. Obviously, never seen it played out. I feel like the tempo And the wave manipulation is always on Yasuo's side because he has a shield, he can dash in, and if Nautilus wants to counter trade, he will always have to press Riptide, his E, and then he will automatically push the wave. So I feel like either you win that matchup straight up or you gracefully lose it because Nautilus can never zone you off because every time you trade, dash into a creep, he will be forced to push, dash out again, use that shield to your advantage, and then good win wall placements could get to your advantage. And then later on, you have that armor shred from your ultimate as well, so you scale much more because Yasuo in this composition was the puzzle piece that tied it all together, right? Any knock-up and you extend it. So all you need to do is get him through lane, even Stevens on CS, and then just scale into the late game. And I think that's what Gambit achieved to do.
I think also just we have to go back and look at the pick and ban phase. I don't really like Ezreal first pick too much because we saw once Gambit start building some engage, they swapped it to AD carry. And for a team like SK Gaming who likes to run tanks top lane, it just didn't really fit in, and it was like they just got in a lot of problems already from the pick and ban phase, and it very quickly snowballed.
Yeah, good adaptation there from Gambit as well. Fantastic play from them. Well, 5 more games behind us here in the playoffs, drawing closer. Let's look at where the teams stand after all of that today. First, second, and third are looking quite familiar, and then Giants, Gambit, UOL are tied for 4th at 6 and 7. As said, HOK maybe dropping the ball here today quite decisively. What else have you guys seen after today?
And for me, it's the fact that at the start of the day, we're talking about all these teams tied in 5th place, but now suddenly Elements ties Rocket, and they're only 1 win away from jumping into that pool of people in playoffs. So it can very quickly change up, even a couple wins here and there, and it's just very interesting to see that sprint at the end of the season. It makes you wonder, especially these teams are going to have this question, like, what if? What if we won 1 more game? I had it like last split as well. What if we just won 1 more game? We wouldn't even be risking relegations right now.
Now you're with us.
And now we're here. Started at the bottom, now we're here.
But that's also the thing for this last matchup we just saw with SK Gaming and Gambit. SK Gaming needed to win that game if they want to start moving closer to playoffs. They obviously want to get out of relegation. We had this segment about how many games they've been so far ahead and then they lost it in the end. They're going to look back at this split and be like, that game, we should have won, we lost, and we now potentially find ourselves in relegation.
At least in this one, they can say, okay, we got really far behind, so. Well.
Speaking of getting really far behind, or I guess that was the Wolves case, Unicorns on the other side, maybe the first time we've seen the glimpse that we saw from the spring split towards the end. It was against the last place team, so let's not get too excited about it, but they showed they have clear calls when it can count for them.
Yeah, we'll see if they can make it a 2-0 or if they stay inconsistent. Now, earlier today, we asked who your must-ban champion pro combo was, and you had a lot to say. Our first tweet is from @Echoes911, 911, 911. You have to ban Reignover's Rek'Sai. He is the true metronome of Fnatic's early game. Super interesting in the context of what we saw here today, because as said, he was forced on that Rengar, rather, which could have seemed like a problem, but Fnatic then got that Baron and ended it anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you could outban Fnatic at all, so I like the strategy. There's been a couple of tweets ago, why would you ban these champions? You just have to target a player that's not Huni. It's shown in the past that you cannot outban Huni. Even with 3 bans and a first pick, he will still find a way to carry. So trying to pinch the jungler pool, who is Reignover, trying to set up these plays often for Huni, I think is a good idea. I think Fnatic is just too damn good. They're playing Gravity Chamber right now. They have to put themselves 1,000 gold down to prepare for the Koreans that are coming at the end of the split, because otherwise it's just too easy for them right now.
Nice quoting of your own tweet there.
That's a tweet by @ScumbagCapo, by the way.
Well, our second tweet we have here is from @MrHype. Pepinero and his Ezreal, although they didn't have a 2-0 week, the rune glaive damage is tremendous, and he was excellent on it last week. Yes, but it was banned today, and he went for the teleport Yasuo.
I'm so tired of this teleport mid lane from
It's Charu's back.
I don't know why he's doing it. Because
yeah.
this guy is so strong one-on-one. Don't put yourself in that disadvantage. But yeah, it was banned away. It should be, because Giants have shown if they play these late game poke champions, they have these chances at least of coming back if they do fall behind. When we play a TP Yasuo, you have no chance of coming back.
It could have worked. I mean, we saw...
Everything could have worked. Everything could have worked.
That's true.
You can play Teemo support and it could work if you blind the AD carry and you win the team fight, right?
That's true. Anyway, with playoffs on the horizon, it all comes down to these last few weeks in Fantasy LCS. Looking at the numbers, you'll be happy if you have Power of Evil on your roster today. He opened the day with a stellar AP Kog'Maw game, picking up 7 kills, 10 assists with 0 deaths for a total of 34 points, over 34 actually. He is today's European LCS Fantasy leader. We asked him, he said, well, I just loved Kog'Maw in this composition. I feel like he would go to it whenever it's open.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And since Trevor's not on the desk, I'm going to take this liberty to haha, Trevor, you took him off your fantasy team last week. If you left him off, that is not a good decision this week.
I just want to talk about the actual game and not the fantasy. I really feel, even though PoE did very well, Chachi was the driving force that game, and it was nice to see him step up, and he kind of set the pace for the momentum, especially that I think the most important kill in that matchup was the one kill that Power of Evil wasn't involved on, and that was the early first spot on Freeze, and that kind of set the tone for that game and, you know, broke the Wolves' hearts. And definitely have to see, instead of looking at Unicorns, what are the Wolves going to do? Like, we're nearing the end of the split, Desperation's coming in, are we going to see the Ultra Cheese, or just, you know, bad plays?
Desperation howl, we will see. Well, looking towards tomorrow, there are a number of opportunities to climb in the standings as we kick off the day with a game between Rocket and H2K. Gambit will face Giants in a fight for 4th, and later on in the day, it's time for a game of the week between Fnatic and Origin. Fnatic still going into that one undefeated. Gave H2K a little bit of a head start, but that's what we're going to see tomorrow. So we'll see what happens then. And until then, it is time for us to sign off. I'd like to thank the coaches that joined us on the desk today for their expert insight. And on behalf of myself and everyone here at the LCS, have a good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Noise is getting hot here. Let's go, guys. It's going to be week number 7, starting off right now. Gets the knockup, gets the second knockup with the wild growth. Look for Chachi, baits out Cast. They take him down, they're just too big. And in the end, it's GG to the Unicorns of Love.
I'm looking right. Relics. Nice. Steve. Right. Finish Baron. Nice.
Elements have done it. They topple Rocket and move up the standings.
Here comes the teleport. Peppy's coming from the middle lane. He's looking for Niels. He will not find him.
Second one.
Teleport.
Yeah. Nice.
And they obliterate Giants. But not before he puts the equalizer out. Reynov has leaped back in with Thrill of the Hunt.
Go for this. Go for Nash.
I got it.
Nice.
Victor. They equal the longest winning streak in LCS history. 13-0.
Diamond though, he's gonna go in for the gang and
The last breath. That was incredible.
But no, he's going again.
Last breath. A double kill for Cabo Shot, and he wants more. They will undoubtedly pick up their 6th victory